You know, not enough, and I think that's probably true of much of the world. People don't know enough about how important Czech architecture has been. And just looking at this 100-year exhibition, you can see that in every current that has touched architecture for the last 100 years, the Czech architects have been there from 1918 to 2018. And that's for better and worse, because even in the period of the very heavy socialist architecture, we have examples of that, but also secessionist and the best. Of course, there are well-known figures from history, Czech architects whose work every student studies, but there's so much, and it's so rich that I think people should learn more. Globally, of course, there have been amazing advances in materials technology and in the technology of design, some of it originating in this part of the world. Graphisoft, which created ArchiCAD, has one of the leaders in tools for design. So there are technologies for design that are absolutely amazing, as well as materials. But that doesn't change the basic challenge that architecture has to meet human goals and to serve human purposes. So we still face that same challenge. There are in my mind, two big challenges in the world today. One is the degradation of our environment. We're consuming natural land and natural landscapes. We're consuming agricultural land and spreading out with shopping malls, roads, and development. And we know the consequences, the changes in weather patterns, the difficulty we have in cleaning the air. So part of the challenge we face is to resolve this environmental problem that we face all over the world. Indonesia has just gone through a terrible experience, probably related to changing climate patterns. So that's one. The other is human need. I have been recently in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, in Nairobi, Kenya. Both of those places have huge populations of poor people that live essentially in places they built with their own hands, with materials they find in the street, on land that they take where they can find it. So the second challenge is a human challenge, and that is to accommodate these large populations that are moving into cities and that are very poor. And architecture has a role to play in finding better ways for people to build for themselves, better ways to serve very poor communities. And so I hope that in addition to all of the beauty and the technical achievements that architects have accomplished, we will also address these great problems of the environment and people. I would say two things. One of the things I really love about Prague is that they have a tradition, like Vienna does, of social housing, of housing for ordinary people who live very, very well in a very nicely designed urban environment. And so I think the lessons of housing and how to make people live in places that are good for all is one lesson. The other is your public transport system. In the United States, we don't have these things. And when we see them, we say to ourselves, it's such a good idea, why don't we do it? And so those are two, I think, very important lessons from the physical environment. It's also a community of people who are very proud of their heritage. They understand what it means to be Czech. And that's, I think, a wonderful quality of this country and others that I visit.